I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
There we go. Let's
There
get
you go. There you
lost.
go.
Yeah.
Well, have you got any more tape?
No, I just borrowed it. That's why I didn't want to touch
So
it.
go into the car, into that black box at the back. It's gaffer tape, and there's a boom pole floating around, maybe in a bag.
By the time I see him.
Hey guys, can I do a sound check with you? We're about 2 minutes out. Test, test, test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Test. Everyone good? You hear everything? Okay. I will make one announcement while I simultaneously, which is we're taking up a lot of this parking lot. So if folks could clear out pretty quickly after Jon speaks, that would be really helpful because we want to make sure folks can get here and park and vote, and so that's important. There is still parking available. It's not a crisis situation, but if everyone could move out pretty quickly after, that would be good. Hi, James Arkin. Yes, I am suggesting that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Everyone else set? John's a little taller than me. He'll be a little further away. Won't have a mask on, if that's okay. A lot of rules. Hey guys, can everyone stay where you are though for social distancing?
Good morning, everybody. I see there's some interest in the election today. Thank you so much for being here. I want to start by thanking the people of Georgia for voting in record numbers through this early voting period and urging everybody who hasn't yet voted to get out to the polls and vote today. As long as you are in line by 7 p.m., your vote will be counted. This is history unfolding in Georgia right now. I want to encourage everybody to be a part of it. There's so much good work that we can do to lift up people in this state. We can beat COVID-19. We can surge vaccine distribution and make sure testing and vaccines are free for every American. We can put Georgia's own CDC in charge, as it should be, of our national pandemic response. We will be able to pass $2,000 stimulus checks for the people next week when we win these races in Georgia and get economic relief directly into the bank accounts of the American people who are suffering right now. We will be able to pass a significant jobs and infrastructure plan to rebuild this economy. We will be able to pass landmark civil rights and voting rights legislation. And I want to ask everybody in Georgia who hasn't yet voted to participate in this election, participate in this historic moment, and make your voices heard. So thank you all for being here. And Miriam will be calling on members of the press with questions.
We're going to start with WSB right here.
Hey.
Very complicated question. How stressed and nervous are you today?
Not at all. I feel confident. I'm grateful to all the people who have already cast their ballots. And I just want to humbly urge everybody to participate in this election today. Get out there and vote. As long as you're in line by 7 p.m., your vote will be counted. Be a part of history. Join your friends and neighbors. Join your family members, your church communities. Join everybody in Georgia who's making their voices heard today. Thank you.
Let me go over to CNN.
Hey, John,
Hey.
How would you characterize Trump's calls as Georgia Secretary of State? Would you say it's illegal, and how would you try to hold him or anybody else engaging in that kind of behavior accountable in this election?
It may be illegal. It's certainly improper and disgraceful. It's a direct attack on Georgia voters. It's a direct attack on the democratic process. And y'all, we're in the middle of a crisis where we're losing thousands of Americans per day to COVID-19. Hospital systems and nursing homes buckling under the weight of this outbreak. Millions of people facing eviction or foreclosure. You would not have known that based upon his remarks last night, and he's focused on trying to overturn election results. We need to get economic relief to the people. We need to pass $2,000 stimulus checks for the people. We need to surge vaccine distribution and make testing and vaccines free for every American to beat this virus. Thank you.
To 11 o'clock. I'm sorry.
We're surrounded by media, right? And many media teams that are here. What does it say that this many media teams all around the world showed up here in Georgia to pay attention to what's going on here?
It shows how much power Georgia voters have right now. Georgia voters have never had more power than you have today. That's the reason the whole world is watching us in Georgia. That's the reason everybody needs to get out to the polls and make their voices heard. I want Georgia voters to feel that power and to exercise that power to make history and to demand better government at a moment of crisis like this.
ABC.
Here, stakes are extremely high here. Can you talk about a scenario if only one of the Democratic candidates in this race, say you, win your race, but the other does not? That means that Republicans are still going to control the Senate. Is that a scenario that you're fearing at the moment?
When we win both of these Senate races, we will pass $2,000 stimulus checks immediately for the American people. I spoke with the president-elect about that personally yesterday. When we win both of these U.S. Senate races, we will pass legislation to ensure testing and vaccines are free for every American and to surge vaccine distribution, which right now is not happening fast enough. When we win both of these Senate races, we will pass a new Civil Rights Act and a new Voting Rights Act to secure equal justice for all and secure voting rights for all people.
Right here.
One of the first orders of business, if you were to get elected into the Senate on Biden's agenda, is to repeal President Trump's tax cuts. And a new study shows that would cost Georgia families $3,900 more every year. Will you still support President-elect Biden's agenda, even if it means Georgia families are going to be paying more in taxes?
No, I'm going to vote to cut taxes for working class and middle class families in Georgia. And in fact, I spoke with President-elect Biden yesterday about how swiftly we're going to act to pass those $2,000 stimulus checks, which are currently being blocked by the United States Senate. I mean, here we have the American people crying out for economic relief. President Trump demanding passage of these stimulus checks. President-elect Biden demanding passage of these stimulus checks. But the United States Senate is blocking economic relief for the people. And they will block all of the economic relief that the people need if Mitch McConnell holds the Senate. And that's why it's so vital that everybody in Georgia make a plan to vote. Again, if you're in line by 7 p.m. tonight, your vote will be counted. Thank you so much.
Peter.
Mr. Ossoff,
Hey, Peter.
something that your Republican opponents are drawing a lot of attention to is a weeks-old comment from Chuck Schumer, where he said, "Now we take Georgia, then we change America." Is that something that you find particularly helpful? Because the Republicans are trying to use that against you and essentially say change America means we're going to be a socialist country.
Here's the kind of change that the people of Georgia are crying out for. Equal justice under the law. It was in Glenn County, Georgia, that Ahmaud Arbery was shot to death in the street in broad daylight on camera. And the local authorities looked the other way because Ahmaud Arbery was a young black man. The kind of change that we need is passage of a new Civil Rights Act that will make real America's founding promise of equal justice. The kind of change that we need is immediate passage of $2,000 stimulus checks, where right now what we have is gridlock in Washington and the U.S. Senate blocking relief for the people. The kind of change that we need is legislation that will make testing and vaccines for COVID-19 free for every American. That's the kind of change that Georgia voters have been turning out in record numbers to demand. And that's the kind of change that we can deliver when we win these 2 Senate races today. Thank you, Peter.
To Joshua.
Hey.
Win or lose, can you talk about the infrastructure Democrats have built in this state and how it feels like you've gotten to this point? And then, secondly, can you talk about what these races, if you win, would say to the Democratic Party more broadly about whether more center-of-the-road policies will win more voters or more liberal policies?
Can you talk this way?
Yeah, to the cameras.
Sure. Thank you for the question. Look, this is the culmination of many years of work and struggle. A decade of organizing, much of this work led by Stacey Abrams, to register voters, mobilize communities, empower the people to participate, but decades of work. The legacy of heroes like John Lewis, Hosea Williams, Amelia Boynton, the hundreds who crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama in 1965 to demand voting rights for black Americans. John Lewis had his skull fractured marching in Selma that day. Many bled to secure the right of all Americans to vote. And it was so that we could have moments like this one. so that all people could stand up and demand the kind of change that we need at a moment of crisis, when people need economic relief, when our public health system urgently needs support, when we have an urgent need for civil rights legislation to expand justice in this country. And that is the tradition of John Lewis, the tradition of civil rights activism, the tradition of expansion of voting rights and equal justice for all that Georgia Democrats are carrying forward right now.
And then
Thank you.
divisions in the party, does this race settle moderate to liberal divisions in the party at all?
I'm a John Lewis Democrat. I'm a civil rights Democrat. And that's the kind of Democrat that's running in the South right now. I mean, think about how far we've come in the American South, that the Democratic standard bearers in these races are the young Jewish son of an immigrant and a black pastor who holds Dr. King's pulpit at Ebenezer Baptist Church. That is the new South. Thank you.
Okay, everyone, that's all we're going to have time for. John's going to greet some voters after they vote in the parking lot. Everyone has to stay on the sidewalk while he's out there. We cannot bring the cameras towards voters. So if everyone could really keep your distance, we're so appreciative you were here.